Cronos: The New Dawn is a survival horror game created by Bloober Team, the studio behind The Medium and last year's Silent Hill 2 remake. Now, it will be launching sometime in fall of 2025 on PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. From what we have heard so far, it combines science fiction, horror, and time travel into a tense, challenging experience that shifts between two very different worlds. Now, you are playing as a traveler, a time-hopping agent working for a secretive group called The Collective. In the far future, Earth is a wasteland where humanity has nearly vanished and monsters called orphans roam free. Now, your mission is to locate and dive through temporal rifts that sends you back to 1980s Poland. There, you seek out key individuals who will die in the upcoming catastrophe, extract their life essence, and bring those people, or at least their energy, into the ruined future to help stop the disaster that created the orphans in the first place. Combat takes place from a third-person view and has both melee and range options. You find pistols, shotguns, but ammo and healing supplies are scarce. You can also use melee stance to block attacks and deliver finishing moves. A standout feature is the merge mechanic. When you defeat an enemy in the wasteland, you must burn their remains with your lighter tool. If you don't, its essence will merge with nearby corpses, creating more powerful and faster foes. This creates a constant tension. Do you clear the enemies quickly and move on, or risk deeper fights by letting bodies pile up? Resource management feels familiar if you've played Resident Evil games. Inventory space is limited, so you have to choose which weapons, ammo, and crafting materials that you can carry. Crafting appears to be quite straightforward. You can combine scavenged parts from like basic health items or even ammunition. And since every shot counts, you'll need to wait whether to craft a health vial now or just save bars for it, sometime later. The game also offers a kind of a default difficulty that's challenging but fair. After completing it, you can also unlock a harder mode that increases enemy aggression, resource scarcity, and the speed at which defeated enemies merge. Now, exploration takes you back and forth between two distinct eras. The 1980s segment looks and feels like a classic survival horror game, fixed camera angles, moody lighting, and puzzle-style level design. Thin corridors, right, you can only see in old Resident Evil games such as, but kind of rebuilt with modern graphics. Bloober Team has said that they learned from their work on The Medium and Silent Hill 2, so expect careful pacing and spooky atmosphere. When you return to the future, the camera switches to an over-the-shoulder view, opening up more open environments full of rubble, ruined buildings, and malfunctioning machinery. You'll use a gadget called the Harvester to pull people's essence through time, which also doubles as a lower revealing device showing visions of the past. Now, the story is driven by the question, can you change the past to save the future? As you bring more essence forward, you gradually learn who these key individuals were in life and how connected they are at the upcoming disaster. Dialogue choices appear to factor into how much information you can extract from them, though it's not clear yet whether they'll alter the main plot. And the narrative touches on themes of memory, regret, and sacrifice. Your role is more investigatory than an action hero. You uncover bits of history and piece together what went wrong, while fighting for every inch of ground in a ruined future. Now, visually the game takes cues from the Eastern European brutalist architecture, especially in that Nova Huta distinct in Krakow. The past sections are full of cold concrete buildings, water towers, and narrow alleyways, all under kind of a yellowed streetlights. The future world is shattered to reflections with an overgrown plants reclaiming broken structures and twisted metal framing a blood-red sky. Bloober Team art direction seems to lean more in towards a body horror as well, based on the trailer and screenshots. Just expect limbs that bend the wrong way, faces melting off, and other grotesque transformations. Now, sound design and music play a big role in setting up the tone. The score comes from Arkadiusz Rykowski, I apologize, definitely butchered that name, who worked on Layers of Fear and Observer, alongside with the Polish and Ukrainian band Zazula. Early footage hints at the mix of haunting synth lines, distant whispers, and sudden bursts of noise when enemies appear. Environmental audio, creaking doors, wind through broken windows, distant drips, seem designed to keep you on edge, especially when you're low on health or ammunition. Bloober Team started this project after finishing their Silent Hill 2 remake in 2024. Development began in late of 2021, by the way, building on two separate ideas, one about superhero and time travel, and another about a deadly infection inspired by The Thing. They merged the concept around about 2023, aiming for a more action-focused horror than a psychological style of The Medium. Initially, the game was supposed to be backed by Private Division, but Bloober Team chose to self-publish it in mid of 2024 after Private Division exited the project. This shift allowed them to keep full creative control, which shows the game's distinct blend of genre. Now, in terms of the gameplay inspiration, you can also see hints of Dead Space in a way that you target and dismember enemies, Resident Evil in the item management and puzzles, and from software titles in the patience and planning required for tougher fights. Signalis and Returnal's tighter action loops may have influenced the faster and more aggressive combat in the future segments, and there are also nods to Control and Death Stranding in a more surreal, narrative-driven moments when you use a harvested device. Community reactions have been somewhat mixed, but yeah, they were definitely leaning more towards the positive. Some players worry that the game might feel too similar to other modern horror titles, while others are excited by the merge mechanics and the dual-era design. Now, early previews at the events like the Xbox Game Showcase of 2025 highlighted how quickly fights can escalate if you ignore burning bodies, creating real tension actually. Now, reviewers, or at least people that got an opportunity of checking out this game already, have praised the environments and enemy design, though a few have cautioned that the balance between exploration and combat might tip too far to the latter. And by fall of 2025, when the game launches, Bloober Team aims to deliver a lean but immersive experience. The goal isn't just to fill in with dozens of side quests or sprawling open worlds, but to focus on a tighter story, strong atmosphere, and a few, well-crafted set pieces. Now, of course, if you're into a methodical horror where every bullet counts and every fight could spiral out of control, Cronos looks like it might actually scratch that itch. Yeah, it's actually quite wild. Bloober Team went from being a niche horror studio to handling Silent Hill 2 remake and Cronos The New Dawn, and now already announced a full Silent Hill 1 remake. That's such a massive workload, especially considering how different some of those projects are. It's also surprising because just a few years ago they were mostly known for Layers of Fear and Observer. Now they're dealing with iconic franchises and launching original IPs like Cronos with complex mechanics, dual timelines, and even heavy combat systems. You know, that's not exactly small-scale horror game anymore. This is more closer to a AAA level of ambition. And since they are working at Silent Hill 1 remake alongside Cronos, they must have either expanded their team significantly or are working with support studios that are under the NDA. Either way, the pressure is definitely on. Fans are going to be ruthless if they fumble even one of these projects. But nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see. Overall though, Cronos The New Dawn isn't trying to reinvent the wheel, but it combines familiar elements in a fresh setting with a time-twisting narrative. Now you'll move between past and the future, gather essence, burn bodies, solve puzzles, and face relentless monsters, all while piecing together a tragic story of humanity's fall. With Bloober's team experienced in psychological horror and the visual punch of modern consoles, it seems to be shaping out to be a solid survival horror title that asks you to think as much as it pushes you to shoot. Whether it lives up to the hype will of course depend on how balanced the resource management feels, how varied the environments are, and whether the story delivers meaningful twists. But based on what we have already seen and what we have heard, it's definitely one to watch for this fall of 2025. And thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys all and have a wonderful day.